Hello, my name's Rachel and I work for Step 2 Young People's Health. This is part of a series of videos called How to Talk to Your Child About. This particular video is about sexual violence and harassment. It can also be referred to as SVSH, sexual violence and sexual harassment. Okay, so why talk to your young people about this? The Department of Education are very clear in their guidance on relationships and sex education that parents are actually the first educators of their child, that everything schools do is supplementary to that. Okay. Ofsted, who inspect schools, have found that sexual violence and harassment is happening in schools at a very worrying rate. Okay, they have told schools that they should assume it is happening there. There is no school that should assume they do not have an issue with this. It came in the wake of the Me Too movement and a site called Everyone's Invited, where people were sharing their experiences of this when they were at school. Okay, or some of them are currently at the school and they're sharing their experiences of it. The reasons that Ofsted found that children are not reporting it include they think it's normal, they think this is standard teenage, this is what's supposed to happen at school type behaviours. It is supposed to happen when you're stood in the lunch line, somebody is supposed to grab your bum as they're walking past you. They genuinely think that it's a normal part of life. Some are worried about getting into trouble, worried about how the adult will react, they're worried that they're not going to be believed. Some are worried about being ostracised within their friendship group or their year group or any other kind of social group because they've reported somebody. And in a number of cases it was that they just didn't know how to report it. They didn't know who they should go to, they didn't know how to talk about what was happening to them, and Ofsted and the DfE are now very clear with schools, you must sort this out, you must do something about this. So looking at the two elements of it then and what the differences are. So for sexual harassment, it's unwanted behaviour that makes people feel upset, humiliated or embarrassed. Sexual violence is unwanted sexual activity of any kind or a sexual activity that you did not consent to. If it's easier, a child once said to me in lesson, so harassment is using your words and violence is using your body. It is an oversimplification, but if that's what's going to help your child understand it, then use that. Okay, as they don't have to have the legal definitions of them. Okay, they just need to understand that there's a difference, but that actually both are illegal. Okay, so sexual harassment first. This can be things like being continually sent jokes or comments about sex. They might be through text messages, through emails, receiving unsolicited nude images or pornographic images. It might be catcalling and wolf whistling. People constantly asking you about your sex life. You know, and it doesn't matter how many times you tell them you're not going to talk about it, they're still asking. They might be giving you suggestive looks, leering at you, making you feel particularly uncomfortable, or they might be making sexualised gestures towards you. So remember, it's about making you feel degraded and humiliated. Sexual violence can include rape. Rape is the one when we're talking to children, that's the first thing they think of, okay? But it also includes the other things in the list. Now, all of these things you might not have considered as sexual violence, but by experts in the field, they are considered that. Okay, Bradford Rape Crisis work with victims who've been sexually abused, they've been subject to any of these forms of sexual violence. We do some work with them in schools, preventative type work to understand sexual violence. And these things come from, in some cases, it's a lack of understanding of consent. There are a lot of things that can feed into sexual violence. In schools, these are the things that it might look like. So these are the things that children have experienced, and this is not a fully comprehensive list by any means. So somebody coming up behind you, grabbing your bra strap and pinging it against your skin. Not only is that painful, it can be quite humiliating. Upskirting is a specific legal offence. So that is somebody coming up probably behind you, usually on a staircase just for access, and taking a photo up your skirt. Flashing, any form of flashing, it can be male flashing or female flashing. So, you know, that can happen same sex in the changing rooms, it can happen mixed sex somewhere in school. Catcalling and wolf whistling can be quite common in schools. They've been reported a lot. Groping, like I said, you stood in the lunchroom, somebody walks past you and grabs your bum. Okay, and we know that these things are happening and that children are experiencing them and believing that they're normal. Okay, so I want to include stalking in this as well because of stories in the media and things that we hear about, you know, Sarah Everard, Sabrina Nessa, cases like that that we hear all too often. Stalking, there's an element of children not understanding the extent to which stalking can affect people. It is like harassment, but it's more aggressive and it happens more than once. So you might be followed by somebody. It might be that somebody is turning up at your place of work or your home. You've not invited them. They might not do anything. They might just be stood outside in the street, but that can intimidate and degrade you, and it can make you feel frightened. Stalking can include checking internet use, email, text messages, that kind of thing. Hanging around somewhere where you know the visits are not necessarily at work, but it could be if they've got a regular social engagement. Interfering with people's property, so that could be going to their house and moving things around in their garden, you know, a random example, but it could be something along that line. Watching people, spying on them, making them feel like they're not safe. We also tend to see lots of cases of identity theft. So they may have gone through the person they're stalking's bins and signed up to credit card things that they found in the bin. In stalking cases, it could be that it's started as a result of a relationship ending and one person's not particularly happy about that. But also it can happen when you've never actually communicated with the person, and it could be because the person who's doing the stalking doesn't know how to communicate with the person, and this is their kind of way of doing that, whereas actually what they're doing is significantly intimidating to somebody. So what you can do then is you can just have conversations with your child, discuss who to report it to in school. So if any of these things were ever bothering you in school, who is it you would talk to? And it might be that you identify a safe person. You know, if you're in high school, you'll have designated safeguarding leads, you'll have pastoral teams, but actually they might feel more comfortable talking to their art teacher or to a caretaker that they see every day. And that's absolutely fine, because all school staff have to have safeguarding training, so they have to know how to deal with a situation like this and where to pass that information to. Have a plan if possible. So I'm thinking in that case of safety planning. Okay, so if your child felt that they were being followed on the way home from school, would they know what to do? You know, is there somewhere they could go to, somewhere with a security guard, maybe big public building where they could say, you know, I'm being followed, I don't feel safe, or go somewhere to try and get to a phone if they've got no credit or no battery or anything like that to try and get hold of you. If your child has been experiencing any of this, they may need to seek emotional support. You know, if they've been subject of harassment or any kind of sexual violence or abuse, inappropriate touching, etc., they might need to talk through that. So it might be a case of finding emotional support. If they've been a victim of these things, somebody has broken the law Okay, sexual harassment and sexual violence are both against the law. So if needed, you may want to contact the police. And I say if needed because some young people will, it's done, it's over, I don't want to think about it anymore. And that's the same for adults as well, actually. But if something has happened where intervention is needed, you may want to contact the police. It can be really useful to have a written log of things that have happened with dates and times as best as you can write them down. And it's really important that when you're making the calls to the police to say words like stalking, sexual harassment, because that will help them to classify it and to pass it on to the right teams and get the right support in place. Please try not to dismiss your child's experiences. When I was younger, this stuff happened at school all the time and nobody really dealt with anything. It happened in the community all the time because it wasn't seen as an issue, it was seen as normalised. It is an issue, we know it has an effect on young people. We should try not to dismiss it. Don't tell them to ignore it because that won't stop it. It will continue and they will continue doing it to your young person, or they will continue doing it to others. Sexual behaviours can escalate and lead to rape ultimately, so it's really important that perpetrators are educated and dealt with appropriately. Try not to take matters into your own hands. I know protective parents are, like a bear with a sore head basically, and you want to protect your child. That is your role as their parent. You want to keep them safe. But if you go off on one of the other child's parents or whoever, that can actually make the situation worse. It's better to have it dealt with formally by other people. Don't expect your child to just get over it, forget about it. This will stick with them for a long time, which is why it's really important that your reaction to it is appropriate, because they don't need anything that will add to the trauma of the experience. It might only have a small impact, it might have a massive impact. It depends on what has happened to your child. Okay, but again, that's another reason to seek emotional support. And possibly also for yourself, a bit of self-care, because you might be struggling to manage what's happened to your child. Okay, so some support services. These are obviously based around Bradford because that's where we are, but there are other charities in your local area that will be able to support. The NHS has information on dealing with sexual assault and what should come next. It's worth thinking about that if your child has been raped, they may need an STI test, so sexual health services might need to be involved. Your local area will have a rape crisis service, and you may want to get in touch with them for advice or information. Your local police, they obviously should be involved if there has been significant sexual assaults or harassments and things, because you need extra help to deal with that. I work for Step 2. We work with James and Hale. James is an independent school. Hale is a health action charity that does lots of social prescribing, sexual health and things like that. We jointly deliver RSE across the Bradford district, so we do teach young people about these things, but actually we can't cover everything in the time that we have available to us, so it could well be that young people will still have questions. There are other support services that deal with abuse and specific types of abuse, and you will find those through the internet, through a quick Google search. It's really difficult. It's a really difficult subject to talk to children about because you've got to gauge their level of understanding, and that might be the place to start. But the more and more that we see these cases in the media, the more and more that we need to try and have these open conversations with them. And it's not about telling girls that they need to safety plan and do X, Y and Z when they're walking home. It's about making sure everybody knows that your behaviour has an impact on somebody else. So if you go off and you perpetrate these things, you should expect to be talked to by the police. You could expect a custodial sentence, etc. So try not to just focus on the victim, try to consider things from the perpetrator side as well.